Good morning. My name's Seth. I spent over a decade in special operations.
And I'm Tyler. I spent over a decade in special operations and at the Army Marksmanship Unit. And today we are going to evaluate the Smith Wesson M&P 2.0 Ed Brown Fueled Series. We'll do a range day and then come back and chat about it. And as a comparison, we have a bone stock M&P 2.0 as a standard.
I can see why Ed Brown chose Smith & Wesson for their canvas. The brake and the reset and everything is a good base to start with. This one's a whole nother level.
But that's just my take on this stock one. The trigger feels like plastic on plastic kid's toy.
Yep. I see what they were trying to do. I feel like, they're trying to keep a certain price point for sure, so the materials aren't going to be without compromise. This is the stock M&P 2.0.
Still relatively accurate.
Yeah.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. That's about 1 inch-ish at 10 meters. Now, some of this is going to be the product of being with a dot on there, but so that's about a 1/2 inch tighter group at 10 meters on a 5-round group.
Should I do the same thing with that one?
yeah, see if you notice any recoil difference. Is to be just the only difference is going to be less mass on this one than that one. By probably not a whole lot, but you might notice it.
Okay.
Notice anything?
I felt like this one recoiled slightly better. Felt like it handled better.
Maybe with the increased weight, it keeps the muzzle from rising as snappy. I see what you mean. So I think the less reciprocating mass gives a more snappy recoil. I think it returns faster because there's less momentum that you have to bring back down. So I think it's probably just a shooter preference of how you like to do that, plus whatever load you're shooting. Because if you're shooting competitions, they're going to be loading them down as much as they can, but still meeting the power factor they have to.
I felt like there was a slight difference. This one stayed on target slightly better.
Yeah. Yeah, which is probably better suited to like Winchester white box. Interesting. That's not even a whole lot of weight they cut out of this, but it's definitely noticeable. Dude. Wait till you try this in comparison to the two Ed Brown guns.
Yeah, it still runs good for a little gun, but you got to hold her down.
Yeah. So we spent about an hour long range session with these guns, and I've got to say this Ed Brown version of the Smith Wesson M&P is above and beyond what I expected. Is hands down the best striker fire gun I've ever touched. A couple of the features that stood out the most to me were the trigger. For one, that's the best striker fire trigger I've ever touched. The accuracy was enhanced above and beyond a
stock M&P, as would be expected with an Ed Brown product. And then the lockup between the slide and the frame was way better than any stock striker fired gun, because they went in and machined new pieces in there that slide on the have the rails of the slide reciprocate on. Ergonomics are the same as a Smith Wesson M&P, but better because the frame is aluminum. The grip handles are have a more aggressive texture, and the slide cuts were, I think, just right as far as aggressiveness and not being too textured where it was hanging up on a holster or your clothing or anything like that.
Yeah, we didn't have an opportunity to test on different holsters, but I do think I agree with you. The tolerances, typically, historically, I've been a bolt gun guy, and the tolerances on this upper mating up to the lower, it feels custom for sure compared to most stock pistols that I've shot and used. I do agree with you that the trigger was an upgrade. They clearly started with a good frame to begin with. Mm-hmm. I did like this stock M 2.0, but this Ed Brown version clearly has an upgraded trigger, and the accuracy, even at that minimal distance, 10 meters, a half inch, shot 2-inch groups, and it was a half inch better with the Ed Brown. Same ammunition, same distance, same. It clearly you're upgrading.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like if you were going to choose a full-size duty pistol for anything, whether it's protecting your own house or if you were using this professionally, like this is the one I would choose, hands down. It's like Ed Brown learned a whole lot about their 1911 engineering and brought it to a striker-fired platform with all of the best features that they know how to do. So this isn't shocking that Ed Brown made a really awesome M&P, but it's a treat to shoot, that's for sure.
And surprisingly, I didn't notice much of any of a weight difference. No. The Ed Brown has a larger grip, feels solid in the hand, and did not have a noticeable weight difference between the standard M 2.0.
Mm-hmm. And the slide on the Ed Brown is like roughly 1/8 of an inch longer. It has an aluminum frame versus a polymer on the stock one. It has magwell. It's got an optic on it. Yeah, it's got a threaded barrel, so there's an additional half inch of steel there, and it's still an indiscernible difference in weight between the polymer frame stock M&P and the Fueled Series. So obviously there's a price difference between these two, but I feel after all of the things that Ed Brown's done to this gun, I mean, from the match grade barrel to the match grade trigger, new sights, better grips texture, aluminum frame, I mean, custom extractor, it's, I think, still a great value at right around $2,000 without an optic. Like I would pay $3,000 for this without an optic.
Yeah, I mean,
for this quality.
They did. I think they started with the right frame. I've got a multitude of pistols, and this Smith Wesson M 2.0 is a good pistol. Mm-hmm. I mean, they put the proper materials into it, but you are getting upgrades with this pistol from everything you mentioned, to include the retextured grips, the extended magwell. The optic is clearly it's an upgrade, and you're getting what you pay for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both grew up in the Army trusting cheap black guns, and they did their job.
Most of the time.
But
we went to the range and fired 300 rounds through these pistols and never had a single failure to feed, misfire, failure to eject, slide lock reload.
Yeah.
0 issues.
I mean, that's a product also of the
like the extreme fine machining for like the feed ramp, the extractor, the chamber, all of that stuff all builds into the reliability of this gun. And you know, I have a love for cheap black pistols, but because it's a safety blanket that I've grown to trust, but these things are the best version of that kind of gun for sure. So I'm happy Ed Brown actually put their brain power and engineers on enhancing a striker fired pistol to their level.
Yeah, I agree with you. And when you pick up this pistol, it is built solid and ready for abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from the aluminum frame to the milled steel upper, it feels like it's ready to be used hard.
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah, I would have confidence in this gun for sure. And while you're getting on face value, this is a Smith & Wesson M&P. This is a whole nother animal. And so whether you like a stock M&P or not, you should evaluate this one as like a completely separate gun from the line of products that Smith & Wesson puts out themselves. The combination of all of these modifications and new parts that Ed Brown has put into this is greater than the sum of their parts. So it's a whole new animal compared to a stock M&P. And you know what's interesting about these is the level of quality brought to a combat pistol essentially is the level of guns twice this price that Ed Brown puts out. So it's got essentially match grade quality, parts, performance, all in a tactical pistol, which is kind of a rare thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I was impressed. There was at the level of detail that was put into almost every aspect of the pistol. Even when I disassembled it, I noticed that there were slight arterial notches in the thread protector that somebody took the time to intentionally put that there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they got a fluted barrel. Like, they've put a lot of thought and attention to detail into producing this pro shop level pistol.
Yeah. And usually in match grade pistols or any kind of gun, the tolerances are so tight that your reliability goes down in order to achieve that kind of accuracy, but that's not the case here. This is a truly reliable combat pistol with match grade performance. So having shot both of these, what do you think about the trigger?
Impressed. My initial reaction was, well, this is what you would expect on a standard factory pistol.
Mm-hmm.
The smoothness and the break on this Ed Brown pistol was what you would expect from a high-end pistol.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was super, it had a clean break. I thought that, you were able to run it quick, had a great reset, and it was fluid.
Yep. I like that on a striker fired gun, you can still feel the reset on this trigger, and it's crisp, but it's not heavy.
It was not heavy.
No. It's a real, and there's almost no over travel. So they did a really good job working up the geometry on all these trigger parts.
Yeah, the reset was not aggressive, but you were able to run it effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your split times will be fast if you're running competitions with this thing. So the exact pistols we have here today, they're both the M&P Fueled Series by Ed Brown, but this is the tactical version, and that one there is the match version. The only difference being the slide cut. There's a void in this slide right here that allows for a little bit less reciprocating mass during recoil. Changes the balance of the pistol slightly. What I noticed in the performance difference between these two pistols is, since there's a little bit more mass up front on this pistol, it dulls the recoil of heavier bullets a little bit better, and that one snaps a little bit harder, but it resets quicker. So it depends on what you are looking for as a shooter between the two, but everything else is the same. It's got the tread pattern, fluted barrel that Ed Brown is famous for, and Ed Brown is known for their heirloom quality 1911s, and a bunch of variations of them. This is, in my opinion, the first heirloom quality striker gun I've known about. So that's pretty cool. So having shot quite a few of the other Ed Brown pistols, like the 1911s, their aesthetics they have on those guns are fantastic, and they brought some of those skills to this combat gun. And while, you know, aesthetics are not the primary reason you would buy a combat gun, it is somewhat important that attention to detail was brought to this this pistol. And I mean, even down to the tread pattern fluted barrel, I mean, they've gone above and beyond in every category.
Agreed. You can tell that like I said before, the detail and the intentional upgrades that they've made to this pistol. While, you know, it is at the end of the day shooter preference. You know, if you want to have a pro shop gun, this is a very, very good platform. I think it looks good, it shoots good, it feels good.
It's reliable.
I'm impressed.
Yep. And then also, on the Ed Brown website, you can choose options of with or without an optic. Their option for optic is a Trijicon RMR, which is a great choice, made in the USA, as is everything that Ed Brown does. And it's an extremely rugged and reliable optic for this platform. And then Ed Brown has also paired it with, I think, the correct height iron sights. So you can actually shoot the iron sights through the glass of the RMR without interfering with the dot. So I think they did a great job with that.
The iron sights on this Ed Brown model are upgraded as well.
If you've got the financial capacity to buy one of these, I think you'd be silly not to.
Me personally, I try not to buy a lot of the same thing. I try to buy one thing that's really good, whether it's vehicles, chainsaws, guns, you name it. This is something that I would invest in for a performance pistol.
Yep. And if I were to be asked by a friend to either confirm or deny a endorsement of this, I would say if they did not like it, there's something wrong with them.
Agreed.